Okay, good afternoon. We don't have a lot of time, so I suggest we start. Thanks a lot for joining, and thanks a lot to the organizers and the speakers to this event. Today, I am Laura Kuro, working as a project manager for You Plus, and together with Romita Yuku, from coordinator of the EduLAB UNICA working group, we'll be monitoring this interesting event of university employer collaboration. About the agenda, we will have first a round of presentations provided by three universities: Sorbonne University, University of Milan, and King's College London, who will speak about their experiences and challenges in university and employers collaboration. Then you will have a first round of questions and answers. We will have then a panel discussion during which Katerina Schefa and Marius Deconu will join the conversation. I will present them deeper after during the panel. Then another questions and answers from your side, and then a wrap up. Some rules of the house. We will kindly ask you to write questions in the chat. Please always remember to whom you're addressing the question and mention it in your message. The event will be recorded and make it available on the For You Plus, but also the UNICA channels. And then we will kindly ask you for your feedback in an evaluation form. We will send it to you after the event, and it will only take 2 minutes to fill in. So please make us a favor and do so, because we always want to improve our events. Why did we have this idea of this event? Because together with Romita, we are both part of two alliances, CVITS and For You Plus, and we saw how it can be difficult to engage in collaboration with employers. So we decided to collect good practices. We know that in European education area, the European Commission's visions for 2025 is the need for a stronger collaboration between higher education institutions and employers. In the European universities initiatives, we know that it is encouraged to establish alliances which already work with employers and industry partners. Then we have the European skills agenda. We have a criterion of the European degree on the labor market relevance, the Bologna processes promoting work-based learning. So we know that this collaboration is needed. And now I give the floor also to my colleague Romita to even more go deeper in this policy context.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Laura. I'm very happy and very proud to share with you this stage, firstly, and also to share wonderful cooperation between For You Plus and very important alliance comprising 8 prestigious European universities, and the UNICA. UNICA is a network of the universities from European capitals, and we are joining our forces together in a series of webinars. And that's very important to mention that this is a piece, this is an event, a very important one from this webinar series, which is focuses on showcasing some best practices from universities that have successfully collaborated with employers to design innovative courses, and of course to support the debate at the European level, because it's very important to mention that among European universities, there is a huge debate concerning the quality assurance, the curriculum design, but also the cooperation with industry stakeholders, like external stakeholders, but in a way they're part of the university policy inside industry leaders, policymakers, employers. And of course, it's very important to understand the dynamic of the job market, and at the same time, the way of monitoring our graduates when they will be at this stage. We are very happy and ready, dear Laura, for starting this webinar and to enter in contact with our prestigious guests. I'll give you the floor back to you.
Thanks a lot, Romita. So as a first case study, I'm very happy to introduce you to Sabrina Pavan. She's a very long experience as a senior project manager for the University of Milan, and she's now representing also the For You Plus Alliance. When she engages in international projects, she likes to involve higher education institutions in cooperation with industry partners. So who better than her could help us understand how to better engage in this collaboration? And today she will tell us how she organized a very insightful event at the University of Milan with the For You Plus partners, associated partners, and then what could be the role of stakeholders consultation in shaping modern study programs. So back to you, Sabrina. The screen is yours.
Thank you, Laura. And first, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me to share the Universities of Milan's experience as part of our ongoing relationship with our non-academic associated partners in the context of For You Plus Alliance's activities. Yes, last summer, the University of Milan hosted an event. The event was, the title of this event was Bridging Education, Research and Society, with some non-academic associated partners, such as Asso Lombarda, which is an association of industries of metropolitan city of Milan, the city of Milan, and a company such as Arexpo. The goal of this event was to strengthen the connection between our local For You Plus partners and the academic community. Over the past 4 years, our professors, in collaboration with the other professors of the University of the For You Plus Alliances, have worked hard to design and implement interdisciplinary teaching activities with an innovative approach. And during the event, we focused not only on the academic content that would be much easier, but also on the professional skills that the students has developed. We also emphasized innovative pedagogical strategies and new educational tools such as micro-credentials. And one of the event's key moment was dedicated to the session on developing a European degree. And in fact, in this session, we explored how stakeholders consultations plays a crucial role in designing up to date study programs. So the guiding principle and the key point projecting this event was the collaboration with the third-party bodies, companies, and institutions should play a significant role in education. In fact, while the business sector is already deeply involved in research, we also need to create more opportunities for dialogue with the labor market to enrich the students' education with new practical skills alongside academic content. And this is our first and unique guiding principle, because sometimes it's very difficult, and for this reason we are here to engage our associated partners in education. The need for ongoing consultation with social partners was already embedded in the Bologna process that we all know, which stresses the importance of strengthening the employability and growth of graduates. And for this reason, most national legislation underscores the importance of maintaining a continuous link with the local territory, both to increase awareness of academic offerings and to improve the employability of university degrees in workforce. Thus, during this workshop, we presented various educational initiatives, joint degrees, collaboration with transnational organizations and NGOs, and we tried to lead a matching between academics and partners, encouraging partners to share their experience, bring business insights and their perspective. And I think that this was the most important and valuable tentative we've done. But anyway, despite the clear benefits of such collaborations, I have frequently observed companies' reluctance to engage with universities. As far as in Italy, I don't know exactly in the other countries. And this hesitation, in my opinion, often stems from a misunderstanding of each party's role, differences in languages, and objectives and priorities, both from the side of the company's side and the university's side. And for this reason, the university must address these differences and work towards creating a smoother collaboration. And although the process hasn't been simple, once businesses get involved, the benefits for students, universities, and companies exceed expectations. What emerged clearly from our experience are three main insights. First, the importance of continuous dialogue with stakeholders, which is essential for success in their engagement and to ensure that our students' learning objectives align with the ever-changing needs of society. In fact, my colleague from University of Sorbonne will share an interesting case study highlighting the potential of company/university collaboration. And for us, this example demonstrates how sometimes it's very difficult to engage the companies, because for us was really very challenging engage the companies in this kind of project. But what helped us to overcome these difficulties, the open and continuing dialogue and the identification of the main criticisms. Second insight is that to give to the stakeholders a detailed and clear definition of the educational offering, including academic content, innovative pedagogical methods, and new educational tools that empower student skills. This is very important because sometimes when we get in touch with the industries, with the business sector or other partners, we assume that the business sector knows the university's educational offer, knows the tools, the innovative tools that our universities are implementing. Well, sometimes it doesn't happen. So it's very important to make them clear. And in fact, during this event, our partners appreciated the presentations on our international educational initiatives, which mainly focus on developing professional skills, introducing innovative educational approaches and tools such as micro-credentials, and the strict collaboration of universities, of different universities of the alliances. They acknowledge the value of these methods in keeping students with knowledge and practical skills that need to thrive in today's complex professional landscape, and identify the areas of alignment with their core business. And this is also very interesting because the third point, the third insight is that it is essential also to identify and make it clear, very clear, the role of the stakeholders when you decide to engage them. In conclusion, I think that our everyday effort should be to facilitate knowledge exchange between universities and employers to enhance a partnership. And also, it's very challenging because it's really very challenging. We can build a dynamic ecosystem that benefits all parties. But what is essential is to showcase clearly the incredible value and richness that universities offer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sabrina. So I noted down continuous dialogue, detailed and clarity on how our educational offer and then identify their role. Very important. I like that, what we expect from them, in this collaboration. Thanks a lot for this. And since you mentioned him, I would continue with Hervé Marc. I hope I'm not that bad with the pronunciation of your name. So Hervé Marc, he's project manager for entrepreneurship and Europe at Sorbonne University, where he leads the For You Plus entrepreneurial and entrepreneurial project management program. In his bio, I read that he wants to turn global challenges in opportunities. I really like it. And he wants our students to become change makers and foster solutions for lasting impact. Today, he will describe us this For You Plus entrepreneurial and entrepreneurial project management program, and how he then empowers individuals to become change makers through this program. So the screen is yours, Hervé Marc.
Thank you very much, Laura. I'm going to share my screen. Can you see my screen? Yeah.
Clear and net.
I suppose so. Great. So thank you very much. A word of caution. What I'm going to share with you is one experience, and an experience that is still work in progress and is 4 years old. So I would like, of course, to take that since we need also to have the kind of background and some more data to kind of validate some of the options. But I'm here to share with you, and I'm afraid start by connecting you to a moment in life. And the reason why I'm talking about that is the infancy of the project I'm going to share with you is actually connected to that moment of our lives, collective lives. And in fact, it all started at the end of the COVID period as a short-term fix that Sorbonne University, working with industrial partners, were realizing there was a challenge for our students, and the program started as an answer and has effectively grown into what has become a strategic endeavor. So today, and since 2021, the For You Plus entrepreneurial and entrepreneur project management program has grown into an alliance endeavor. We have embarked so far 120 plus students coming from various demographics, all issued or at least recruited from the For You Plus universities, going through a 7 months education program and getting them to work and learn on an average of 6 hours per week with various topics, and be with the support of corporate partners. I've been supported over the past 4 years by 20 plus industrial and non-industrial companies. You see some of the key names. What we are trying to deliver today is how can you help the new generation? How can you help the postmaster students, our doctorate or PhD students, be better prepared to what will be coming next? So the way we work is to work through hands-on experience, getting students to work as teams in an hybrid mode, and building on what is currently available, which is the diversity of the experience, the academic expertise, the multicultural dimensions. And we get those students working on the real case that is brought by an industrial partner. The advantage of that approach is that we manage to tailor-make learning journeys as much as we can, meaning that students are coming from very different backgrounds. Some are scientific experts, others are journalists, others are PhD students in history, others will be also coming from management faculties as well. So the opportunity of that framework is to get all those diverse experiences and expertise to join into the delivery of a challenge as well. So here are some of the cases we have gone through. I'm not going to comment and go too deeply into this, and I'll be happy to comment in the Q&A if necessary. I want to highlight a couple of them. The first one is Roche, a pharmaceutical company from Switzerland, and what I'm really proud about is that the student team worked last year on a set of solutions for the Roche challenge, and Roche was so supportive and so impressed by the work that they've asked the students to keep the work, and at the minute, this team of graduates from this diploma are still working as an entrepreneurship team in the supervision of Roche, working on the delivery of their original solutions. I also want to highlight a new project that has been brought this year by our partner SAP, who also connects students with the reality of the social challenge of inclusion. So when we think about innovation in the program, it's not always about technology and the environmental challenge. It is also about finding ways to adapt the ways companies and organizations work, and how can you support the upskilling? And that's what SAP has trusted our students to look at. So what did we learn from that, or at least what are our takeaways? First of all, and I'm sure you've seen those data, but in a way, from what was a short-term fix, which is how can you help students past a COVID period to go back into employment, we see today the reality. It is true that uncertainty is now part of business, or even the life of any organization. There is an international challenge about addressing the sustainability issues, the global warming issues, the reindustrialization of Europe, and certainly how to master the new opportunities of technologies, the digital technologies. One information which I'm quite keen on is taking ownership about our responsibility. I'm not here to comment the figure, but I'm simply wary of the fact that our graduates within the EU universities sometimes do not have the perfect match of skills that will make them more easily employed, or certainly more aligned with the organization's needs. And another point that also is in our field at universities, a survey from the Center for Governance of Change has shown that some universities are also better aligned or better equipped to measure or to understand the labor market needs. Again, this is not a judgment on our performance, but this is a base where I believe the opportunity of collaboration will be better. So yes, collaboration for transformation is going to give us the opportunity to co-create. My belief, and typically in the project that SAP has provided us, there is an opportunity to see how the industry, the employers, and also the universities could actually look at labor market demands in a specific way. Sabrina alluded to micro-credentials, and I believe there is a great opportunity for very tangible, practical, operational partnership working on micro-credentials to transform the way we approach the upskilling. There's, of course, an opportunity also to get students to take power, or at least to feel more empowered about their own development opportunities and think about lifelong learning readiness and making sure that they feel equipped to actually seek those opportunities. And finally, I'm a strong believer into upskilling and scaling up. And I believe that collaboration will make us stronger to actually find solutions. But we should not forget who is our client or who we should be serving. And my belief is that the main reason why this partnership between universities and employers is so crucial is because we should be thinking first about our students, improving their skills, giving them more and more experience on the top of expertise, creating their ability to more easily connect, network, develop their own ecosystem, and of course, show them the way, or at least give them opportunities to better identify their career pathways. I've mentioned it, and I really want to emphasize that one of the low-hanging fruit of our partnerships today is to collectively work into what could be a structuring opportunity and also a strong bound of our collaboration, which is the micro-credential. I believe it could become a catalyst of these opportunities. So to conclude, my call to action for all of us today is, of course, for universities to seek more collaboration. There's plenty of collaboration going on, so I'm not sort of saying it's not enough. I'm saying there must be more opportunities to go through those collaborations. And my experience of the 4U+ program is an illustration that we can work towards upskilling our students and developing new educational solutions through collaboration with employers. For employers listening to us today, I'm saying, please invest more time in people to shape the next generation talent. Yes, we sometimes don't speak the same language. We sometimes don't have exactly the same objectives, but let's agree on the vision and let's make sure that you feel you have a responsibility and you will get gains from that investment in the long run. And for students listening to us, I would say, feel that you have also a responsibility into your own education and look more and more for experiential programs so that your skills are not only hard skills, but you can also develop soft skills through the experience. So thank you very much for listening. That was really a kind of crammed experience sharing. I'll be, of course, delighted to engage into the conversation in the next minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Hervé, for this wonderful presentation. Now, it's a great honor and pleasure for me to introduce our colleagues, Simon Gibbons from King's College in London. Simon has been for 10 years Director of Teacher Education at King's College, a role that includes oversight the initial teacher education program that recruits around 170 prospective new secondary school teachers each year. Also, Simon, main area of research are the history of school English pedagogy and practice and the importance of teacher professionalism and collaboration in development of effective classroom practice. The presentation will be around sustaining effective university school partnerships to deliver high quality teacher education. Simon, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'll just share my screen if I can. Okay, hopefully you can see that. Thank you very much.
Perfectly.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation today. It's difficult to follow two great speakers, but I will do my best. I'm going to speak specifically about the field of teacher education because that's all I can talk about really, but hopefully what I say about the partnerships between the university and the schools that we work with, and we work with over 200 schools in our very large partnership across London and the home counties. Hopefully some of the things we do to sustain that partnership, which is critical to the education of teachers, might be applicable in other areas and other fields. So I'm going to speak, if I can move my slide, yeah. Firstly, about why it is that partnerships and collaborations are so critical to teacher education. They are, first and foremost, it's a matter of compliance. We are obligated by the compliance criteria that are set down by the government, by the Department for Education, that we must work in partnerships. The university, as the accredited provider of teacher education, must work with schools in order to deliver teacher education, in order that the supply of teachers can go on into the future. So it is part of the regulatory compliance. May come back to that later on, because actually the way that works is not necessarily helpful in developing equity in the partnerships that we develop. Critically though, and this has been mentioned in another presentation, at the heart of the partnerships that we create between the universities and the schools we work with is the student experience. On a teacher education course in the UK, or in England at least, a secondary programme, postgraduate programme is only 180 days long. 120 of those days must be spent within schools on placement. So actually the bulk of the experience of our students, although they're university students and they're registered to us, the bulk of their course experience is working out in our partner schools. So if we don't get that partnership right, if that partnership isn't working effectively, then that has a hugely detrimental effect on the student experience. So it's in our interest to make sure our partnerships with our schools work effectively in the interests of our students, because if they don't, then obviously that is potentially catastrophic for those students, because it is such a high stakes and high pressure course that they're engaged in, a very short course leading to professional qualification. And the last point is about employment. Our partnerships with our schools are linked specifically to the program, which is a training program, but many of our students will qualify to be teachers and then will go and work in the schools that we work in partnership with. So there is an incentive to make our partnerships work in terms of the recruitment of new teachers and also the retention of teachers, which in the UK is a huge problem. We have a huge percentage of people who qualify as teachers who leave the profession very shortly afterwards, within the first 2 to 5 years. That's an enormous drain on public finance. It's also an enormous impact on the quality of education in this country. So by developing our partnerships effectively, by having good relationships between the universities and the schools that we work with, we hope that contributes not just to recruiting new teachers and training them well, but also to retaining them in the profession, because they're working across an established partnership with good relationships between them. So the effective partnerships are critical to what we do, and it's been that way for decades. It's nothing new in this, but there are specific challenges about how we make a partnership work effectively, which, as I say, may or may not echo in other fields. First of all, the national policy context for teacher education is not particularly hospitable to partnership working. Even though it's mandated and we have to do it, the policy context is not helpful for a number of reasons. One being that schools aren't actually required to work in partnership with the universities. It may be in their interest to do so, but there's no requirement that they do. The requirement is entirely on the university to find schools. There's no real incentive from a policy-driven perspective for schools to be involved in these sorts of partnerships. And in many ways, it creates more work for them. And recently in the UK, there was a government review of teacher education, which has in fact made it even more difficult to create these partnerships, because the expectations on school partners have been ramped up quite significantly in the new criteria that have been implemented. So actually the national policy context is not helping us develop partnerships. I wouldn't say it's a hostile policy context, but it's certainly not a hospitable one. And the third sort of national thing which arises from that kind of policy dimension is that actually, although we work in what we think are equal partnerships with our schools, as providers of training, as employers of our graduates, actually, and I may say more about this later on, that partnership is not an equitable partnership in many ways. And that creates lots and lots of tension for us as a university in terms of making it work. And I work at King's College in London, and we have some specific local challenges too, because actually within London, there are many providers of teacher education, and all of those providers are desperately trying to partner with our schools within the capital. So you can see that that creates a competition between providers, where actually, as universities working in the same city, we would like to think we are collaborative in our approach. But actually, the reality is that the crowded market means that partnership working becomes very competitive in many ways. So I'm going to say a few of the things we've done at King's College. Anyone who's familiar with teacher education may recognise some of these steps, because I don't think they're hugely innovative, but they are ways in which we try to sustain and develop partnerships with schools as training partners and employers. And as I say, maybe they are things that might be applicable in other fields. First of all, we have a very well established what we call Partnership Management Committee, and that's a group, a steering group for our programme, our PGCE, Postgraduate Teaching Qualification. That's a steering group that consists of key university staff, myself and programme directors, along with staff from the partner schools that we work with. And that group meets regularly. Part of its role is to oversee the quality of provision, and part of its role is to drive curriculum and course development. So our school partners are at the heart of the decision making when it comes to evaluating the quality of provision, recommending improvements, recommending course developments, new programs to bring into the offer that we have. The partners are there driving that rather than kind of being offered it, if you like. The partners that we work with, the schools, are also intimately involved in the recruitment of our students. So we have to have interviews as part of our recruitment process. It's one of the few courses left in England anyway, where we have to have actual face-to-face interviews with our cohort of incoming students. And we have our school partners as co-deliverers, if you like, involved in our recruitment processes. They are there at interviews, they are there and they see our applicants at stage one of the process. So they are involved in seeing our students and making decisions about which students should be on our programme and not. So they're in there at the base level. We are constantly getting feedback from our schools, course evaluations, formally and informally, about how we should be developing the programme. And our partners are also involved in delivery. So we will invite school colleagues into the university to deliver sessions to cohorts of students within subjects and across the programme as a whole. And our school partners have an absolute critical role in the assessment of our students. So the assessment of our students' practice in schools is probably the most critical thing that establishes how well they do on our programme. We are obviously too a research-intensive university. We do a lot of research in education, and wherever possible, we will invite our school partners to become participants in that research. And that's an added benefit for our school partners of working with a research-intensive university on a programme of teacher education, is they can become involved in our research projects, also involved in our master's programmes, and we have significant numbers of our school colleagues who will do master's programmes or even research degrees with us. And we have a negotiated partnership agreement that all partners sign as part of their involvement in delivery. And our intent in all of this, as I've said, the policy context is not hospitable. The local market is challenging. So what we're trying to do is sustain this and develop this partnership for the health of our students and our program as a whole. We want to make sure, firstly, that our partners have that direct input to the course. That means that they can be confident that the people that we're recruiting are of good quality, that they have the relevant knowledge and skills to take up teaching posts afterwards. There's a kind of a tradition or a stereotype, if you like, in the UK anyway, of people saying, well, the university people involved in teacher education are too far removed from the classroom. We're in our ivory towers and we don't really understand the nature of teaching in a secondary school. We try to combat that by making sure our school partners are so directly involved that they have a clear say on what our training teachers are being taught, so that they are confident that the graduates from our program are in a position to take up posts directly at the end of the program and know what it is to be a teacher in a secondary school. Obviously, we hope that through this work, the partners are reassured of the quality of both the program and the cohort. And what we're hoping to do, obviously, is build up this kind of relationship where there is trust and loyalty, which is very important to us, because as I say, we're working in a field where it's very easy for schools to choose to work with somebody else, and we need to be able to partly sell ourselves as King's College. We're a research intensive, university, but we want schools to be loyal to us in this partnership, and part of that is developing this trust over time through their involvement in what we're doing and what we are delivering. And I think that's what I've got to say. I've no idea if that's 10 minutes or not, because I didn't check my watch at the beginning or the end, but I'm going to stop. Thank you for listening.
You did great. Thanks a lot, Simon, for all these interesting inputs. We noticed that we received some questions in the chat, and many thanks for that. Please feel free to continue asking. I also ask now, but no, you're all on. But from now on, dear panelists, please keep your camera on. So the first question we received was for Hervé from Christina Kolinova. While working on the For You Plus entrepreneur program, have you noticed any differences in how employers from different countries approach collaboration with universities? Please, Hervé.
Yes. So obviously, I will again talk about this particular experience. So the way, and I would say what is most striking from this experience is the fact that our partners share a lot of similarities in first, their commitment to European education. So I would say one of the key drivers for those organizations to join in the program is their belief, their vision that the future of Europe will go through the talents of the future. So they're not focused purely on business development. They are mostly interested into let's give a chance and let's give more opportunities for education and students to actually gain more expertise and experience. So there's the commonalities. I have to say I've been surprised. I was expecting more industrial partners to kind of ask for a quid pro quo, meaning that obviously they are long-term partners of our university alliance, but they are also providing a real case innovation challenge that they feel interested in. They have vetted interest, and they actually not only provide financing for the program, but they also provide one ambassador and sometimes a couple of employees who are going to work and support the team throughout the 7 months of the program. So there's a level of investment, and I have to say, without hesitation, that none of them have actually requested some kind of tangible return in terms of value. They all admit at the end of the program that they were surprised by the outcome. So there is an additional benefit to actually getting, obviously, solutions, prototypes being provided by PhD students. They also are surprised by the way the team has been working, how the team has been collaborating with themselves as well. So I would say these are my kind of takeaway. I don't see much difference, I have to say, in the way each of those organizations are working in the program.
Thank you very much, Hervé, for answering to these questions. I will just pass the second question to Sabrina, received from Mirsada. Sabrina, you mentioned the importance of engaging in continuous dialogue. How do you approach that in practice? What resources do you rely on, and could you share any tips for doing it effectively? Very interesting question.
I don't know if I have any tips, but I can say that I try to engage them every time I guess that could be interesting, their perspective or their knowledge. Because in this way they become more confident with our programs, with our knowledge, the quality, of course. And like, for example, I'm organizing a master, not a vocational course, and in this is quite interesting because it's a vocational course for practitioner in internationalization, and because we believe that it could be interesting and know the perspective also of the business sector, we gave them the opportunity to have a lesson on their perspective, their way to the idea of internationalization. So I guess that we have to force sometimes them to get in touch with us. We haven't only to expect that, wait for their movement. I don't know if this could be could be a tip.
Thank you
Thanks
very
a lot.
much. Yeah.
No, it's fine. We have another question for Sabrina, but I suggest we go with the one for Simon. So we have the 3 case studies, and then we go to the panel and we will take the other questions afterwards. So Simon, we received a question from Alexandra Zimangska. Sorry. What policy changes might better facilitate the building of university-school partnerships within the field of initial teacher education? Thanks, Simon.
That's a very good question, and it's not a straightforward answer. I may say something about this later on the panel as well, so I might just touch on a few things. I mean, one thing I could say, slightly controversially, would be that there should be no policy intervention at all, and the government should keep their nose out of education policy, because the problem with education in this country anyway is that the government tries to put too much policy in place. But I think given that they are doing that in the field of teacher education, I think that primarily the policy move would be in terms of carrot and stick, if you want to say it like that. I would like to see more carrot given to schools to be involved in these partnerships. At the moment, all of the kind of policy drivers are in the direction of the university and that side of the provision, and the involvement of schools is done on the basis of goodwill in many cases of those school-based partners. And I think policy that was more encouraging of schools to be involved in these partnerships, and that might be giving them some financial reward for that involvement, or it might be some other kind of badging or kind of recognition of schools. Something in that direction would be helpful, I think, because it's that driver for schools to be involved which needs to be increased, and I'd rather see that done in a positive rather than a punitive way, which is sometimes how policy works in this country.
Thank you very much, Simon, for your question. A very interesting approach, because our universities are just providing also for the labor market, not only the experts and specialists in different fields, but in the same time teachers, which is so important for our society, for our process of Europeanization. Everything is depending on the quality of teachers. This is why in our European alliances, we are just militating very much and honestly for having a high quality at the teacher training system. That's wonderful. And now it's time to move a little bit further to our panelists, and I will start. Dear Aurora, it's my great pleasure to introduce the first panelist, Stefan Marius Diaconu. I will launch immediately the question, but I'd like to introduce to the audience Marius Bio. He holds a PhD in history from the University of Bucharest. You could imagine how surprised I am. Awarded in last year, and he served as vice president and president of the National Alliance of Students organization in Romania. He was working also for ARACIS, for Quality Assurance Agency in Romania. That's also very important as a Secretary General of Council for Ethics and University Management. Last but not the least, from 2022, he was with the advisor of the Ministry of Education, and currently representing Romania in the European Network of Graduate Tracking, and is part of the Eurograduate 2026 National Research Team in Romania. And Marius did a great job in this direction. And allow me to launch the first question for him, but also for our colleagues. What systemic measures are being taken at the state level across the European Union to modernize study programs and better prepare students for the evolving labor market, of course, in connection with what Marius previously developed and raised as very good outcomes in the area of monitoring and tracking the graduates. Thank you so much, Marius. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Professor Ilcu, for the kind presentation, and thank you also for the invitation. It's a very useful discussion concerning a very important topic. So first of all, concerning the European Union level initiatives, the first you already mentioned, it's about the European Network of Graduate Tracking. It's in place since 2022. Basically, the platform fosters the cooperation between various EU member states and other stakeholders based on the previous 2017 Council recommendation on graduate tracking. Its key contributions include the Eurograduate Survey, basically, but also the development of internationally comparable indicators in order to assess skills mismatch, for instance. One of the most important topics is also to tackle the issue of mobile graduates, especially in terms of higher education. But in this sense, some obstacles remain, such those related to GDPR, for instance. A second instrument, or I don't know, initiative at the European level would be, starting with the following months, the European Higher Education Observatory. This will complement the initiative on graduate tracking. And basically, it could enable, for instance, benchmarking across higher education institutions, analyzing graduate outcomes by subject of origin, or delivers data that could provide updates for study programs, or, for instance, identify the skill gaps of the graduates. In the context, it's very important to have the national approach, which can be split into parts, for instance. Usually some countries do have a centralized approach where, such as in the Romanian case, the Ministry of Education or the agency in its coordination to link education and labor market data in order to have a comprehensive coverage on facilitating policy interventions. And I would like to underline here the cooperation with the University of Bucharest, where meaningful data, I think, was provided and could lead in the following years to adaptation both of the structure of the study programs and the curriculum. This kind of data included, for instance, data concerning wages, occupation, regional distribution and further details on graduates. But other countries do have a decentralized approach where higher education institutions are those in charge to collect data, and not in all the cases there is a communication between them to have a national landscape. In this whole picture, university alliances can deliver and can be part of developing standardized methodologies in order to track graduate outcomes, because it's the same overview but different national specificities. Also, they can facilitate transnational higher education and employment in order to remove barriers for mobility. And last but not least, joint programs can be tailored based on this data that is obtained both at national and European level. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marius. Today we also have the honor to have an employer representative, and thank you very much, Katarina, for joining us. Katarina is working as a global head of SAP for University Alliances. So SAP is a leading enterprise application and business AI company. She also serves as a Senate member of the Germany Society for Aeronautics and Astronautics. The first question I have for you, Katarina, is about your position, which is very interesting because you are, again, global head of SAP for University Alliances. So if you could provide a brief overview of your work, and then as a second question, I would like to ask you, because also Sabrina mentioned it, what benefits do you believe employers can gain from collaborating with European University Alliances, and why they should consider such partnerships? The screen is yours.
Thank you, Laura, and many thanks for inviting me. I'm very proud to be part of this panel today, and very interesting. I just already learned so much. So about SAP University Alliances, we are the organization that is the bridge between academia and SAP. We want to, foster the education in the field of business informatics, and informatics in STEM, as well as we are doing, of course, also a lot of research collaborations with different universities. So kind of my organization is really responsible for all the collaborations that SAP has globally with universities, research institutions, and Simon, very interesting for you, also schools, since we also have a school program in place. In total, we are collaborating with over 2,700 educational institutions worldwide. And here really the power is the community for us. How this organization even started to exist is because professors asked SAP, they want to have access to SAP systems. So it's okay if some of you don't know SAP, because I didn't know about SAP when I was a student. Why I'm in the association with aerospace is because I'm my background is aerospace engineering. I didn't learn so much about ERP systems in my student time, to be very honest. Nevertheless, now all of my colleagues know about ERP, because if you are working in a company, ERP is kind of the data backbone, and when we are talking about AI, the data backbone is very important. That just having said about SAP, and what the professors asked us, we shall provide them software. At that time, it was on-prem, right, not cloud. So it was a little bit more challenging, and the professors had the servers on, at the universities. We got them the free license that they can use it. Well, and from that, now we as a team exist 25 years already. As said, over 2,700 education institutions are part of this University Alliances community from SAP. And the great part is that they share what they develop, right? We all are in this, that we want to inspire and educate students about the topic of business informatics, about the topic of, you know, supply chain management, all these things that are important, how to manage a company and where systems, you know, are needed. And we want to provide the students the hands-on experience to really give them the practical, also the practical experience. And we as SAP, we have the our task is to give the, you know, free access to the systems for teaching purposes, very important, it's for teaching purposes, as well as to provide the platform that the community can interact. And it's a little bit going in the direction of the question Sabrina was asked, you know, how you can support this interaction. So we have different formats in place. We have, for example, in each bigger region, we have SAP Academic Community Conferences each year, where around 150 faculties from that region come physically together for 2 days to share how they included SAP into their curriculum, you know, to exchange about the challenges, and where SAP also brings in their executives as well as, you know, topic experts to share what are the newest things that we have, you know, that we can provide for the university, as well as, you know, our strategy and our roadmap. So what will the future provide? Just this very trustful collaboration, this trusted also exchange, right? So this is what SAP University Alliances is about, and I'm very proud of that. I have never seen that anywhere else before. And as I said, the power that we have is the community, you know, it's the professors who develop the academic relevant curriculum. It's of course not us, right? Because we are a corporate. And I really would like to motivate each corporate to do so as well. And Javi already mentioned, and thank you for mentioning us as well. And I love this format from 4U Plus. Where 30 PhD students work on a challenge. I mean, how great is that? I mean, in teams, like, but where do you get the chance that 5 to 6 European PhD students work on a challenge that you give as a corporate, right? And of course, it's nothing, and that is very important for each and everyone to have in mind, nothing that you can directly implement into your software, right? That's not the reason why you do that. The reason why you do that is really like get new insights, get new knowledge, get out of the box thinking, because usually in the corporate, you're really focused on the, you know, short-term, mid-term, right? And this very long-term focus. And sometimes you have this very, you know, this view, as well as, of course, the interconnect with the talent. With these kind of collaborations, you have, your foot in an amazing talent pool, be it bachelor students, master students, even PhD students. And you can do and have the opportunity to employer branding, right? Because some companies are not so well known, and even SAP, you know, we are a B2B business, not a B2C. So, you know, not our students know about us. And this is our opportunity to get in touch with the students directly, get innovative thoughts about it. And even also in the research world, where I think, Sabrina, you mentioned it, many corporates collaborate with universities in the research area, right? But even then, if you sponsor a PhD, it's usually not something that you get out in 3 to 4 years that you directly can, you know, include in your software. Nevertheless, it has an impact. And it's the knowledge change in between and the new ideas. And then, for example, we have now a PhD credit program in place, because then we want, of course, hire the PhDs into SAP, right? And then you have the knowledge at the corporate. So what we also want to do, SAP has a huge ecosystem, 400,000 customers, 25,000 partners. So we also want to give our partner ecosystem even the opportunity to interconnect with the universities, not only, you know, for SAP ourselves. And why the European Alliance is such of great value is, of course, for us, everywhere where we can scale and standardize more, it's a value for us, because then we don't need to do it, right? And so collaborating with 4 Year Plus, which we did from the start, is the opportunity for us to collaborate with one association and have then directly a link to 10 universities in Europe. Importantly, we as SAP already work with many of the universities in this association. Nevertheless, it's first of all a different kind of collaboration if you do it via the association. It helps us to bring in more standardized formats. And a university is huge, right? It's usually not the same people who work there. So I just can say for each company, it's a huge value, even especially if you think about the talent gap that's coming, right? And so, and Sabrina, since you mentioned many universities collaborate in research, but not so much in education. When we collaborate also in the educational field, we have the opportunity to bring in the need that the corporates have, that this is even taught already during the academic years, right? So that we have then less work to do in terms of the onboarding, and then we have less work to do and find of the right talents. For us, it's a huge value that we do since 25 years, collaborating also in the educational field with universities. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Katarina. Next question. I have to say that I'm very close to this question because I've been receiving that during the pilot projects on the European degree quite often, and this is for Hervé Marc. Collaboration with employers can sometimes raise concerns about institutional autonomy. How does your institution safeguard autonomy in this context, and do you perceive any risks or challenges?
Thank you very much for asking that. And I guess I might be echoing Simon's point about the issue of autonomy regarding government and public institution. And I would say, and I certainly would agree with him, that the biggest risk certainly lies in some of the institutions, governmental bodies' interventions at certain stages. Sorry for being extremely candid about that. So I would say, having said that, I know there could be risks, yes. But at the end of the day, there is also an opportunity to engage into first a discussion and hopefully into a collaboration based on not agreeing on objectives, agreeing on the vision, agreeing on the fact that the future of Europe today is partly depending on the employability. And where we can agree today is that some of our graduates, including postmaster graduates, tend to have some difficulties to give value to their skills and to kind of access to employment at the level of their expertise. That is a fact post-COVID. And the reality from the other side is that corporate partners, industry partners realize that they sometimes are less attractive to talents because of the image of the industry, because of the fact that they may have forgotten to do what SAP is doing, which is to stay connected with them and to support their education and not simply connect with job applications. So I do not believe that there are tangible, real risk for universities to lose their independence. I would say agreeing on the vision and working on very small steps. And for me, the program I'm leading today is just a minute step into this direction of getting collaboration and getting alignment onto why do we do this, as opposed to what benefit can you get out of it, and do we agree on the benefits?
Thank you very much, Hervé, for this very broad answer to a question which was very nice and intensively oriented in our context of the university management programs. In this context, we are just coming back to what's happening in the real process of training and educating teachers. I'm just raising a question for Simon. What from Alexandra's side? Thank you so much, Alexandra, for questions sent. What policy changes might better facilitate the building of university-school partnership within the field of initial teacher education? That's an important idea of creating for initial teacher education many opportunities to establish the university school partnerships.
Yeah, sorry, I think it was a mistake. That question has been already addressed by Simon, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But for the panel, the question was, but maybe no problem. I mean, it can happen. What challenges? I'm afraid I need to pronounce this very difficult word for an Italian, so bear with me. What challenges arise from can be seen as a lopsided partnership model in terms of responsibilities and accountabilities, and how can this be addressed?
Thank you. And I mean, both those questions relate really, and you said lopsided perfectly. That's exactly how you say it. If I just clarify what I mean by that, really, I mean, although the partnership for educating teachers on the one hand is very equitable, we share responsibilities, we have a signed partnership agreement with our school partners, and that lays out very clearly the responsibilities that we hold as the university and the schools hold, and all of those roles and responsibilities are clearly mapped out and signed by all partners involved. Actually, it's not an equal partnership, because when we consider the regulatory framework, the government regulatory framework we're working under, all the accountability sits with us, the university, as the accredited provider of teacher education. So therefore, we're subject to external inspection by Ofsted, who are the inspection body in the UK. And if Ofsted come in and inspect teacher education, they will come and look at our teacher trainees, our students out on placement. And if Ofsted detect any problem with the quality of what's happening, the judgment and the accountability for that sits entirely with us as a university. So they may go into a school and see one of our students teaching and say that the quality of support they're getting in that school is not up to standard. But actually, that judgment then only really reflects on us as a university. And if a school that we work with in partnership is having a problem or doesn't like the way something's going, or they've got a student with them that isn't doing well, they can simply just walk away from the partnership and say, well, sorry, we don't want to work with you anymore. We're going to go and work with somebody else. And there's no comeback there. We can't possibly force them into partnership with us. And even though we have a signed agreement, you know, we're not going to be in the business of taking schools to court to fulfill that requirement. So we end up with this partnership where all the accountability, all the risk, if you like, sits with the university, because if it goes wrong, we suffer at the hands of external agencies, and the implications of that are huge in terms of the withdrawal of our accreditation. So it's very high stakes for us. It's less high stakes for schools, and they can therefore choose to be in or out at the drop of a hat almost, without any real implications for them. And you can see it most obviously in the new requirements that we've been forced to take on of increased training for our school partners and their mentors to be involved with us. That training we have to give our school partners to be involved in the course means that school partners and colleagues have to be released from their teaching duties, and schools are very reluctant to do that, but we have no real drivers to make them do that. So the partnership exists almost entirely in this kind of world of goodwill, and when it's running well, schools are very happy to be involved, and when it's not running so well, it creates these difficulties. So really, we are reduced, although we do have some financial lever, we are able to give some money to our partners to be involved. Essentially, we are on in a situation where we're constantly having to promote to our school partners why it is they should be involved. What do they get out of it? How is it helpful for them to be involved in teacher education, because actually it should be a shared enterprise. It's the next generation of teachers we're training. It's their next cohort of staff that may be sitting in our lecture halls at the beginning of the course. But we've got to keep promoting that. We've got to keep working the PR angle to make sure our partners see that for them, there is value in being involved, and specifically being involved with us, because the policy drivers aren't there. The policy drivers are in fact stacked against us and in favour of schools. So we have to work increasingly hard on marketing and PR and selling ourselves, which is not necessarily what academics do massively well historically. So it's a kind of, it's out of our skill set in a way to make these partnerships work, but we're kind of having to do that on a regular basis to ensure that this quality and this relationship is sustained.
Thank you very much, Simon, for both answers to questions. The first one already answered to it, and the second one, the active question. Thank you so much, Laura, for saving me always, and that's fantastic. I have a question in my hand now, which is addressed to Sabrina. Universities often have long-standing sensitive collaborations with local employers. How can these partnerships be effectively integrated into European university alliances? We are just moving forward on the important topic and strategic topic for further developments. What added value do you see in expanding this collaboration to a European level? That's a very more strategic question than the others. Sabrina?
Yes, I will be brief, because I think that, yeah, I think that this kind of collaboration should be, we have to pay attention to some characteristics of the associative partners. I mean, we have different associative partners, so it means that they are different in the scope, in the nature. So first, I'd be more practical, and I would pay attention also to this kind of nature and and characteristics. After that, I think that they could be, we could help them to work together first. I mean, we work with the Chamber of Commerce of Milan, and I often talk with them asking if they have any relations with the other Chamber of Commerce. And they told me that, for example, they have no chance to talk with them. So I guess that could be also very interesting for them to share best practices. After that, this kind of sharing could be helpful also for us, because they could, from this kind of sharing, could be could come also new ideas. And this could be only the first insight, but I think that we should first map which kind of skills they have, which kind of expectation and needs they have. After that, we could propose them to work more on with the European alliances, because we could invite them, for example, having case challenges or engaging with the student educational activities, such as the hackathon or something like that. But starting from this first mapping of their skills and their expectation. And of course, the major opportunities for them and also for us is that in this way our students could benefit from a more global and heterogeneous offers and different point of view, and not always so easy to collect if you are only students in your own universities, while you could benefit from the expertise, the skills, and then of a lot of other partners.
Thanks a lot, Sabrina. So, heads up for our speakers that we have only 9 minutes now left. So let's maybe take 5 minutes to respond to the other 2 questions. And then, of course, we can always be contacted by email if you want more information concerning some topic. So the first question goes to all panelists. Please raise your hand if you want to take it. And it's from Alexandru Kartis from Civis. Is the relationship between universities and the labor market a one-way road or a very complicated highway? How can we ensure that input is bilateral, not only what universities are asked to provide? What changes in a university alliance? Please, Katarina.
Yeah, so perhaps to give the corporate view, but as said, I mean, also knowing from the work with lots of universities. So I think it's neither nor, it's more a trail. So you can really define, you have to go it. And while going this trail, you then define how we work together. I think the biggest challenge is really for corporates, but I mean for both, that you have to invest time into develop a trust-based collaboration, right? There has to be a relationship in the beginning because there is no standard way how a industry-university collaboration should be, and it's always at the very end the human beings who do the collaboration, right? And there is nothing that I can just say, I want this and then I get this back. This is not how this collaboration works. There are so many return on invest that are on the way instead of, as the goal. I mean, Sabrina already mentioned it in her presentation. It's very important to have a very clear definition on the roles of the different stakeholders, and I think a clear expectation management is necessary. There has to be this continuous dialogue, which is very time intensive, to be very honest. Kind of this is the foundation, and then it has to be transparent that there is also, that was mentioned, a different language been spoken, as well as we work in different worlds. Usually we wouldn't even meet, right? If we are on conferences, it's the academic conferences and it's the corporate conferences. So you have to find the places to meet. And this is why, for us, for example, these academic community conferences are so important, or it's also important to send our PhD students to the academic conferences, right? To be part of the academic community. Furthermore, also to have in mind that we are speaking about different timelines. So corporates are usually like, very quality driven. At least you want to have an impact after a year. Having kind of the results in 2, 3, 4 years in a research project, that is really challenging for a corporate to say, I invest in that. But this has to be done. So as said, in the beginning, the expectation man should be really clear that there is no frustration at the very end. But if you find a trusted partner, and if really both people want to do it, then you can go in all directions. So it's not a one way. It's a trail that you can define yourself.
Thanks a lot, Katarina. Hervé, did you want to add something?
Yes, I wanted to build on Katarina's speech. And to answer the question, for me, it's clearly none of the above. I want to view this journey as a toll-free road. At least that's the mindset I'm encouraging all stakeholders to have, which is to view the opportunities rather than fear the risks at first. We have to be conscious of the risk, but we also have to sort of agree on, as I was saying before, the vision, and also to build on more objective elements. So one of the elements I feel is required if we don't want to be in those one-way streets is to make sure that we collect data, we measure not only success, but measure the reality of the upskilling, the reality of the employer's needs in terms of talent pipeline. And we share those data. So having visibility or collecting information collectively, and then working on those figures. So it's not about posture, in my view. It's not about who owns the project or the process. It's about what can we do to offset the 16% of graduates across Europe who claim they had difficulties in their employability. What do we do to address that? And of course, it's not only down to universities to be the talent pipeline provider, to talk big words from corporate. It's, of course, a collective responsibility. So that these will be at least agreeing on the vision, making sure that we collect information, and then we work on addressing those tangible data and find solution in a very practical, pragmatic, step-by-step approach, hoping that in the end there might be a kind of beautiful objective alignment. But I'm not a strong believer in just big incantations approaches, and more the practical, pragmatic, hands-on approach, which I'm a promoter, at least at Sorbonne University.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you very much, Hervé. I realize that we have one unaddressed questions coming from Maria's side. A very interesting question related to the adjustment of the learning objectives to changes and needs in society. I'm very happy that Maria is professor at the University of Texas at Arlington, and she was attending this meeting, which is wonderful. I will be responsible for answer to all questions already unaddressed, and then answer it to them. It was wonderful to have extraordinary speakers, panelists, and very intensive discussions with a lot of questions raised. I'm sure that this kind of experience will contribute definitely to further exploring and development relationship between institutions, alliances, legal entities, or not yet legal entities. But it's very important to mention that university alliances are in this moment on the other stage, shifted the position and the level, the roles in the society through this new legal statute, and will play important role for developing the future of higher education. And also at the level of the 4U, dear Laura, because we are now officially could also announce that we'll have another important contributor in the European higher education policy perspective, which is 4U for all. Will be very open and will upgrade always the discourse on this context. Inside the 4U for all, there will be an advisory board and a lot of stakeholders coming from outside of universities will contribute to further development. I am very grateful to our colleagues from UNICA office from my side, and I will give you immediately the floor to Laura for expressing the gratitude on behalf of their own. Thank you so much. It was a really great pleasure and honor to manage this wonderful meeting. Now, Laura, for the last words.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, I don't know to which Laura were you referring, but we can both of us can give the last words.
You can do.
Thanks. So, Maria, sorry if we couldn't address your question. I think I speak to Sabrina as well. She will reply to you by email. So if you can send her an email, she would be more than happy to reply. As a last question, last words, actually, I would like to ask you to reply to the evaluation form. We would like to continue this collaboration on webinar series. So if you are interested in collaborating with us, you have some good experience you would like to share with during this webinar series, please feel free to let us know in this evaluation form. And then I wanted to give some main takeaways, but we don't have time. So I use this minute to thank the people you don't see. So the For You Plus communication managers, Caterina and Christina. And so please turn on the cameras, and Alexandra Duarte, communication manager of UNICA, and then the last words to the office manager of UNICA, who is also very invested in this webinar series. Thanks a lot.
No, just very quickly because we're out of time. So thank you very much to all the speakers, to the participants. It was a pleasure to cooperate with For You Plus, with Laura, with Romita, and everybody who made this webinar possible. And we look forward, we'll talk after this, and we look forward to the next event in this series of joint webinars. So thank you very much, everybody, and have a nice day.